we have an anomaly on the starboard engine. Check the nozzle again.
Confirmed. Looks like heat stress near the coupling.
Two fighter jets, both called fifth generation, both designed to own the sky. But only one has proven it can actually do the job. The other? Well, the truth is going to shock you. This isn't about patriotism or propaganda. This is about cold, hard facts that the defense industry doesn't want you to know. Welcome to Hidden Valor. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this video from? The year was 2014. Syria had become a nightmare. ISIS was tearing through the region like a wildfire. Every major power had skin in the game. And for the first time ever, the F-22 Raptor was about to see combat. 9 years. That's how long the Raptor sat on the sidelines after being declared combat-ready in 2005. 9 years of the most expensive fighter jet in history waiting for its moment. People were starting to ask questions. Was it worth the $70 billion? Could it actually do what Lockheed Martin promised? Then came September 23, 2014. The answer arrived over Syria. An F-22 dropped from the sky like a ghost. Syrian radar never saw it coming. The jet delivered GPS-guided munitions onto an ISIS command center with surgical precision. One building. One side of that building destroyed. The other side untouched. That's not just accuracy. That's a statement. But here's what makes this interesting. While the F-22 was proving itself in actual combat, Russia was still trying to get its answer off the ground. The Su-57 Felon. Russia's first attempt at a stealth fighter. It sounds impressive on paper. Twin engines. Supermaneuverability. Internal weapons bays. All the features you'd expect from a fifth-generation fighter. But there's a problem. A big one. The F-22 first flew in 1997. It entered service in 2005. The Su-57 didn't make its first flight until 2010. That's a 13-year gap. And it gets worse. The Su-57 didn't enter actual service until December 2020. 15 years after the Raptor. You'd think with all that extra time, Russia would have built something better. They didn't. Let's talk stealth. Real stealth. Not marketing nonsense. The F-22 has a radar cross-section of about 0.0001 square meters. That's smaller than a marble. It's so small that most radar systems can't even detect it until it's already too late. The aircraft was designed from day one to be invisible. Every surface angle, every curve, every coating, all engineered to scatter or absorb radar waves. The Su-57? Its radar cross-section is estimated at 0.5 square meters. That's 5,000 times larger than the F-22. Let that sink in. 5,000 times. Aviation experts have done the math. A typical air defense radar that can spot an F-22 at about 27 kilometers can detect a Su-57 from over 150 kilometers away. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between life and death in modern combat. Russia claims the Su-57 is stealthy. And compared to older jets like the Su-27, sure, it's an improvement. But compared to actual stealth fighters? It's not even close. The problem starts with the design. The Su-57 is essentially an evolved Su-27 airframe adapted for low visibility. It wasn't built from scratch to be a stealth platform. It was retrofitted. And you can see it in the details. The engine intakes aren't properly masked. There's no S-duct system to hide the engine fan blades from radar. The nozzles are circular, not rectangular like the F-22, which means higher infrared signatures. Even the panel gaps and surface finish don't meet the tight tolerances required for true stealth. India figured this out the hard way. They were supposed to be partners with Russia on the Su-57 program. They invested years and money into the project. Then in 2018, they walked away. Why? Because they realized the aircraft wasn't actually stealthy enough and didn't have a proper fifth-generation engine. That's not speculation. That's what India officially stated when they canceled the partnership. Now let's talk combat record. Because this is where things get really interesting. The F-22 has flown over 590 sorties in combat zones. In Syria alone, F-22 pilots deterred 587 enemy aircraft. Russian jets, Syrian jets, Iranian jets, all of them backed down when the Raptor showed up. Not because the pilots were scared, because their radars couldn't get a reliable lock. They knew if they tried something, they'd be dead before they even saw what killed them. In 2018, During a tense night near the Tamf military base in Syria, about 500 Russian mercenaries from the Wagner Group tried to ambush American forces. Bad decision. The Pentagon called Moscow, asked if Russian troops were in the area. Russia said no. That was a lie. Or maybe they genuinely didn't know their own mercenaries were there. Either way, the Americans launched a counterattack. F-22s were part of that response. When the dust settled, around 300 Wagner fighters were dead. The Raptor had spoken. But here's what's even more impressive. F-22s flew inside Syrian airspace. Inside, not at standoff range. They operated within range of Russian S-400 air defense systems and Syrian integrated air defense networks. Advanced systems specifically designed to counter stealth aircraft. And they did it without breaking a sweat. The Syrian military fired 40 surface-to-air missiles during one strike mission. All of them missed. The F-22s came home without a scratch. In February 2023, an F-22 made history again. It shot down a Chinese spy balloon at 60,000 feet off the coast of South Carolina. First air-to-air kill for the Raptor. Not against a fighter jet. Against a balloon floating higher than most aircraft can fly. The F-22 climbed up there, locked on, fired, and brought it down. The message to China was clear. Now let's look at the Su-57. Russia deployed 2 Su-57s to Syria in February 2018. Big fanfare. Lots of state media coverage. They stayed for a few days. Flew about 10 flights. Then went home. The Russian defense minister claimed they fired a cruise missile in combat. That's it. That's their Syria experience. A handful of flights, and maybe one missile launch. No air-to-air engagements. No proof of effectiveness against modern air defenses. Just a brief appearance for the cameras. The real test came in Ukraine. And this is where the Su-57 story gets complicated. Russia has been using Su-57s in Ukraine since at least June 2022. But here's the thing. They're not flying into Ukrainian airspace. They're launching long-range missiles from inside Russian territory. Standoff strikes. The jets stay 500 kilometers away from the action, fire their weapons, and retreat. That's not a demonstration of stealth capability. That's proof they don't trust their own aircraft to survive in contested airspace. Ukrainian sources reported that Su-57s fired Kh-69 cruise missiles at targets like power plants and military facilities. Effective? Sure. Brave? Not really. Any fourth-generation fighter could do the same thing from that range. You don't need fifth-generation capabilities to launch cruise missiles from safety. And then came the embarrassment. In June 2024, Ukrainian drones hit a Russian airbase. They damaged at least one Su-57 sitting on the ground. Satellite imagery showed the before and after. A fifth-generation stealth fighter. Taken out by commercial drones. On its own airbase. Deep inside Russian territory. There's more. The Su-57 accidentally shot down one of its own S-70 Okhotnik stealth drones during testing. The loyal wingman drone was supposed to work alongside the Felon. Instead, the Su-57 destroyed it. Russia then hit the wreckage with an Iskander ballistic missile to prevent Ukraine from capturing it. Not exactly a ringing endorsement of the system. Production numbers tell another story. The United States built 187 F-22s before ending production in 2011. Not as many as originally planned, but still a significant fleet. Russia has managed to build about 30 Su-57s by 2025. 30. And they're aiming for 76 total by 2028. That's not a production problem. That's a systemic issue. Either they can't afford to build more, or they don't actually believe in the aircraft enough to commit resources to it. Let's talk about the engines. The F-22 uses Pratt & Whitney F-119 engines. Each one produces 35,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner. They've been operational and reliable for 20 years. The Su-57 currently uses AL-41 F1 engines. Decent power. But they're not true fifth-generation engines. Russia has been developing the Izdalai-30 engine for years. It's supposed to give more thrust, better fuel efficiency, and reduced thermal signature. But it's still in testing. Still not production-ready. The aircraft that's supposed to compete with the F-22 doesn't even have its intended engines yet. Maneuverability is the one area where the Su-57 genuinely shines. It has three-dimensional thrust vectoring. The F-22 has two-dimensional. What does that mean? The Su-57 can perform more extreme low-speed maneuvers. Airshow tricks. Cobra maneuvers. High angle of attack flight. It looks spectacular. But here's the brutal truth. In modern air combat, if you're close enough to need those maneuvers, you've already lost. Fifth-generation warfare is about seeing the enemy first, shooting first, and killing them before they even know you're there. The F-22 was built for that doctrine. The Su-57 seems designed for a different era of combat. Avionics and sensors. The F-22 has the APG-77 ASA radar. Advanced sensor fusion. An electronic warfare system with over 30 antennas integrated into the airframe. The ALR-94 system can detect targets passively at ranges exceeding 250 nautical miles. It can geolocate threats without emitting any radar signature. That means the F-22 can see you, track you, and target you without you ever knowing it's there. The Su-57 has the N036 Bielka radar system. Multiple ASA arrays. L-band side radars designed specifically to detect stealth aircraft. Detection range claimed at 400 kilometers against conventional targets. Sounds impressive. But here's the catch. Those L-band radars are lower resolution. They might detect that something is out there, but they can't provide a precise enough track for a missile lock. It's like knowing someone is in the building versus knowing exactly which room they're in. Big difference. The F-22 costs about $350 million per aircraft when you factor in development and production. Insanely expensive. The Su-57 is estimated at around $100 million. Much cheaper. But you get what you pay for. One is a mature, combat-proven platform that's been dominating airspace for 2 decades. The other is still working out basic reliability issues. Here's what nobody talks about. Pilot training and doctrine. American F-22 pilots train in the most advanced simulator systems in the world. They fly against other F-22s. They practice against F-35s. They learn to exploit every advantage of their aircraft. Russian Su-57 pilots? They have limited flight hours because Russia only has a few dozen aircraft and can't risk losing them. That training gap matters. A lot. In Syria, F-22s escorted other aircraft. Protected ground forces. Operated in the most dangerous airspace on Earth. They did it successfully for years. The Su-57 made a brief appearance and left. That tells you everything about confidence levels. The harsh reality is this. The F-22 was designed to fight and win in the most contested environments against peer adversaries. The Su-57 was designed to look competitive on paper and in propaganda videos. One has proven its worth in actual combat. The other launches missiles from safe distances and hopes for the best. Russia talks a big game about the Su-57 being comparable to American fifth-generation fighters. But actions speak louder than words. If the Su-57 was truly capable, Russia would be flying it over Ukraine. They would be using its supposed stealth to penetrate Ukrainian air defenses and dominate the sky. Instead, they keep it at arm's length, launch standoff weapons, and pray nothing goes wrong. The F-22 entered service in 2005. It's now 2026. That's 21 years. And it's still the most feared fighter jet in the world. No adversary wants to face it. The mere presence of F-22s in a region changes calculations. It forces enemies to rethink their plans. That's not marketing. That's reality. The Su-57 entered service in 2020. It's been 5 years. And it's still mostly theoretical. Limited numbers. Questionable stealth. Engines that aren't ready. Combat employment limited to safe standoff strikes. One damaged by drones on the ground. This isn't the peer competitor Russia promised. So what's the brutal truth? The F-22 Raptor is a proven air dominance fighter that changed the rules of modern warfare. The Su-57 Felon is an ambitious project that fell short of its goals. One is a legend. The other is still trying to prove it belongs in the conversation. That's not opinion. That's what the evidence shows. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to Hidden Valor for more.